Let's start another week of Locked On Blue Devils. Before you know it, the Duke basketball season will be here. Right now, though, a lot of people in the basketball world very fascinated with the Euro basketball tournament that's taking place, starting to look towards the 2028 Olympics. And some interesting names involving Duke basketball could be a part of Team USA.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is J.J. Jackson. It's so great to have you here with us today on Monday, September 15th, 2025. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we will discuss everything going on inside the life of Duke athletics. And today we've got a Duke basketball conversation for you to get into. We'll talk a little bit about this Duke basketball recruiting effort at the end of the program. Do want to talk about Duke's ties with the Olympics and the 2028 squad they could be building and so much more. And these basketball conversations are great to have with my pal, Raul Clement from the Devil's Den podcast. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Go ahead and also make sure that you like our videos on YouTube each and every day. You can watch them, share them with your friends, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as we continue that climb towards 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. I can't wait to celebrate that milestone with you guys whenever we get there to that number. Follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils, and I'm there as well at _JJ_Jackson_. So without further ado, Raul's here with us talking all things Duke basketball. Man, here in a couple of weeks, before we know it, countdown to craziness will be here. Then we'll be into exhibition season, and finally the league will be there. But, man, I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing great, man. I'm looking forward to Countdown to Craziness. What's that, like a month away?
Yeah.
So it'll be great to see the players on the floor, albeit playing against each other, but for the first time, some real basketball action.
Yeah, I mean, we think about it. It's like the second or third day of October, and here we are the 15th. We're like 2 weeks away.
I was thinking it was middle October, so there you go. Yeah. So even closer.
Like it'll be here very soon. Right now in the basketball world, so many people are just starving for content a little bit. We'll have NBA training camps getting started here in the next couple of weeks as well. We've seen international competition take place with so many squads going up and competing at the next level. But here stateside, not too much action for Team USA, which has got a lot of people thinking about the 2028 Olympics. And Zach Lowe being one of those guys in the NBA world, he recently brought his boss, Bill Simmons of the Rieger, on to talk about building their unique 2028 Team USA teams. And they both had a fair share of Duke basketball players on the list. And the basketball world is now talking about Con Knippel after Bill Simmons guaranteed that he would be one of the 12 guys that would make this Team USA squad. This has been a really funny and viral clip that's been out there, but I personally love hearing the high praise for Con Knippel.
Yeah, Bill Simmons has had a lot of great kind of unorthodox predictions over the year that have come true. So we'll see if this one does. But to me, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, when you think about the last Olympic team and the kind of role that Devin Booker played, where he was sort of a do-everything player, really kind of buckled down on defense, defended the other team's best player, rebounded, passed, kind of embraced, more of a non-scoring role than he was traditionally used to. You could see Con, with his versatility doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him do it in Summer League already at the next level, kind of step up and lead a team. In the Charlotte Hornets, a lot of high expectations for what he's going to be able to do. He won the championship game at MVP, and, 2028 still a ways off, right? And we see a lot of the older guys not play as much in the Olympics. This was in 2024 kind of a reverse of the trend when they were able to get LeBron James and Steph Curry and Kevin Durant to team back up together and go for gold. If it is kind of a younger movement, maybe there is a world in which Con Knippel can be a part of the squad role.
Yeah, it's certainly a bold prediction for a reason, but he did go number 4 in the draft. So you would expect players in that range to kind of have a chance, right? You would think guys like Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe could be in consideration as well. And obviously Cooper Flagg, who I believe Bill Simmons mentioned.
Yeah.
He seems like a shoo-in.
Yeah. I'm with you. I feel like it's a certainty that the United States is going to want to have Cooper Flagg, given his intensity and game playing ability, to be a part of the Olympic squad there in 2028 when they are being played in the United States. Got to make sure we continue to hold on to that gold medal for Team USA. I think Flagg is going to be in the mix, and let's talk there. Let's talk about Cooper Flagg, Raul. I can't wait to kind of see him in that international competition.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm kind of curious how his first few years, because that's still 3 years off, how his first 3 seasons will kind of pan out and how that will affect anything. I think we all expect him to succeed at the NBA level, right? But there's some challenges the Dallas Mavericks roster presents, but I would still expect, even if he gets off to a little bit of a rocky start, that by year 3, he's going to
Yeah.
be at the level that you would want, a Team USA player to be at. Like you said, he just does a little bit of everything that the team would need. He's a great passer, great defender, great help defender, great rebounder. You know, his 3-point shot improved a ton at Duke. We saw him hit some at Summer League as well. So I don't see why you wouldn't. He just seems tailor-made for USA basketball, and he's played since high school. He's really played on super teams. So you got to think about, like, his high school team was just completely loaded.
True.
That Duke team is one of the best we've seen. So he's just used to playing with other talent, and he's okay, taking a backseat scoring wise. In high school, I believe, what did he average, like 16 a game once he got to play with some really good players. So, you can see that he would be kind of okay with embracing a role, and maybe only averaging 10, 12 points.
That is a wonderful point to make. Just with his experience playing alongside great players, so that's certainly going to be the case when you're representing your country at the Olympic level. What about his playing style, though, that I think about? Tell me this, man. You think about the international game, and one of the biggest differences is that goaltending rule, right? The ball is live on the rim. You're able to and Cooper Flagg with the block shots, with the alley-oops, how much the guy flies through the air. And then the competitive nature that he's got within himself. Sign me up for that. I want to watch that.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you go back to look at his high school film, one of his biggest strengths was weak side rim protection and just kind of he'd have games where he'd get 7, 8 blocks. And we didn't see that quite as much at Duke because he was asked to play a slightly different role. And Kaman was more of the rim protector, but you could see him in international play just feasting on the fact that he can, hit the ball off the rim.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that would be just so many highlights that you would get from Cooper Flagg alone, swatting it away and then able to also take it and push the break himself.
Yeah. Transition is a huge part of, Team USA's success over the years. Especially just thinking back to some of those Coach K teams, they were just flying up and down the court, and I imagine Steve Kerr would like to do the same thing. So, and I assume Kerr would still be the coach at that point. There's no plans for him to leave, right?
Right. I think officially it might be kind of up in the air right now. Who's that coach of Team USA? But I'm with you. I think Steve Kerr would be awesome to kind of stay at it and keep running. I know Grant Hill's still running the program majorly, which shout out Duke ties. We love to see that. But yeah, so I think what we're in agreement on here, Cooper Flagg's on this team in the best world that we're envisioning for the United States. Super bold take for Bill Simmons to have Con Knippel representing the country as one of the 12 guys on the roster. But he's been right on several things. Knippel's a great player. He'd fit in so well. Like I could get there is I think where we're ending up.
Well, maybe Bill was swayed by the interview he did with him. I know he was pretty impressed with his personality, so that might be part of it as well.
Yeah, there was a viral clip or photo, I guess, of Con Knippel reading Bill Simmons, the book of basketball when at a young age, and they were able to set that up. And I really love that interview. People should go check that out in the pre-draft process there from Con Knippel. All right, what about other guys from Duke that could possibly represent our country in the next Olympics? We'll continue that conversation here in just a moment. Locked On Blue Devils here today, brought to you by our friends at 5 Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. The 5 Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Enjoy 2-ounce shot packs with caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 calories and 0 crashes as well. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get the boost when you need it. Enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-hour energy shots. I love all the different choices that they got. I love to reach for my favorite flavor because it's refreshing and gives me a quick lift before a busy day. Get your favorites that you love and be bold. Try something new in store or online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. 5-Hour Energy is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. The show today also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is finally here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with the can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So are you ready to go? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. Right now in the NFL, of course, tonight we've got a couple of Monday night football games that you could check out with FanDuel. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Houston Texans, and then the Las Vegas Raiders, the LA Chargers. Super fun games. The live game betting that you're able to do. You can build same game parlays and so much more. Check it all out over at FanDuel. Once again, check out FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. FanDuel is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, Raul Clement joins me today talking Duke basketball in the 2028 Olympics. Of course, we saw Coach Mike Krzyzewski have a great run as head coach. He had years on staff. We've seen so many Duke players over the years get to compete for the United States of America in big-time competition. Most recently, in 2024, Jayson Tatum was on Team USA, recovering now from the Achilles tear that he suffered in the NBA playoffs this past season. But 4 years down the road, I think it feels pretty certain that if Jayson Tatum wants to play for the United States, that's good for our country, Raul, if he's a part of Team USA in the 2028 Olympics.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that he's going to get the invite because, of his past quote unquote service for the team, right? He'd be 30 years old at that point.
Yeah, he's 27 years old today.
Yeah, so somewhere in there. And he'd be like several years out from the Achilles injury at that point. So you would hope he was, fully recovered. I would expect when he gets back, assuming he sits out this season, when he gets back the year after next, I expect there'll be some a little rocky going at first, but by the time the Olympics rolls around, he should be at full strength and good to go. And the question to me would be does he want to? Because Kerr is still going to be the coach, and frankly, Kerr didn't play him a lot. Maybe that was just the fit with that particular personnel. Maybe it could change for the next team, but how much did that kind of wound Tatum's ego, right? Like he's a star player, and it's probably important to him to, get relatively equal playing time to these other star players. And, it's just a question of whether he wants to, but if he wants to, I think he'll be there.
He's such a good player and doing it at the highest of levels, all NBA selection, obviously won the NBA championship with the Boston Celtics and then goes on to play for the United States, gets that Team USA spot. And to your point, didn't play a whole lot, but I'm hopeful that he'll give it a run again. And with it being in the States, maybe he'll kind of be one of the stars that Team USA wants to feature when you look at what their squad could be. And so from the Duke perspective, feels like a certainty that he's got a spot in there. So love that. Other name that keeps being mentioned, and both Bill Simmons and Zach Lowe in this recent conversation had this guy on their squad. The number one pick of the 2022 NBA draft, former Duke Blue Devil, led the Blue Devils to the Final Four in Coach K's last season. That's Paolo Banchero, of course, that we're talking about for the Orlando Magic. Paolo seems like a guy that I would love to see play in international competition and get to wear the stars and stripes.
Yeah, well, he had a little, international experience already, albeit not for the, Olympic team, but he looked pretty good. They had him playing at the 5 a little bit, and I thought it was a pretty successful experiment. So just, this has kind of been the theme of this podcast, but the versatility of the guys we have in the NBA right now, I think benefits Team USA and will benefit them getting on the team. Paolo can play the 4 or 5. He can, switch out and defend. Great rebounder, great passer, improving 3-point shooter. At that point, he'd be around 25 years old. So you think he'd be entering his prime. I'm really high on his future. I think we saw last year that he was poised to take a step forward, even from what he'd done before. But then he gets an injury like 11 games in the year. But he was just putting up monster numbers before that. And then he gets back, and it takes a little while for him to get going again. But I think the last 20 games of the season, he's averaging like 30 points, six assists, 9 rebounds. So you think about what he's going to be able to do this year on a better Orlando Magic team with them adding Desmond Bane and all that. I think by the time 2028 rolls around, he'll be one of the considered like consensus, one of the top 6 or 7 players in the NBA. So you would think he'd get the invite.
Yeah, I hope, and excited to see what he'd be able to do starring alongside a couple of the other Duke guys that could be on the roster and the best players in the United States. Paolo deserves to get one of those opportunities. I think his game's only going to continue to get better year by year. I think we're both in agreement there. A couple of more names that we want to discuss as possibilities with Team USA. I can't help but think about what it would be for Zion Williamson to be a part of the squad, Raul. He currently is 25 years old, so you're looking at a 28-year-old Zion once those 2028 Olympics come around. And from the highlight dunks we saw at Duke, he still has them in the NBA for the Pelicans. Health has obviously been a big issue for him throughout his career. Boy, oh boy, though, I would love to be rooting for Zion at the Olympics.
Yeah, it's the health issue, right? It's every time he's on the court, people agree that he's a top 15 NBA player. Some, you might even have him top 10. Like there's times he's been able to carry the Pelicans when he's been out there. It's just, he's playing 30, 50, 20 games, every season. I think his best seasons have been kind of in the 65 game range, right? So it's like, if you've already got those health questions, do you want to add playing over the summer on top of that, right? We'll see. I'm curious to see how the Pelicans look this year, and I'm really rooting for a healthy Zion season because I still believe in him. He just needs to kind of figure some things out when it comes to body maintenance and all that. And I think he has improved. He looked more in shape and, a little bit more svelte last year. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come. And you could see how he could be used, in a similar way to Paolo, just kind of getting out in transition, or like Cooper as well, like, great runner of the floor, he could play the 4 or the 5, just a lot of options there. And he would definitely be somebody who would have kind of the inside track, I think, provided he can be healthy.
Yeah, Zion right now a 2-time NBA All-Star in 2021 and 2023. A lot of this for everybody, it kind of feels like, Raul, hinges on the level of success that they have in NBA seasons. And so if he can come back and really put together a nice year for the Pelicans, by then we'll see if he's even still on the Pelicans or what his kind of contract situation looks like in the future. If he wants to find a new home and a new spot, maybe a fresh start would be great for him somewhere in the league itself. But simply put, when you watch this guy play basketball, the highlights that he could produce for you on the biggest of stages against other countries, give me that, man. I want to watch it.
Yeah, he's still one of the most electric players to watch, and I've watched way too many Pelicans games over the last 5 or 6 years, and just become kind of invested in that team. And it's simply because of him, because he's just one of my favorite players who've ever come through Duke to watch.
All right, let me give you another one. Talking about Duke possibly in the 2028 Olympics. Someone that has represented our country in Olympic Games before with Duke basketball ties is, of course, the former point guard of Duke, Kyrie Irving. He would be 36 years old once those Olympics come around. And we just saw a couple of guys around this age, Kevin Durant playing for the United States, Steph Curry and LeBron James, much older, competing in this past Olympics. It's not crazy at all to think that this could be a possibility. Maybe it's a bit far-fetched, but Kyrie's a guy who loves basketball. And I think for him, you're getting a chance, kind of one last hurrah of your career, of your game in the whole, in the United States competing.
Yeah, he seemed a little bit hurt that he didn't get the invite the last time. So clearly he still wants to play for Team USA. He's had some great Team USA experiences. He's obviously won Olympic gold, but he also won the FIBA MVP, if you remember that. I don't remember what year, 2014 or something like that. With that was a team with Kevin Durant on it, I believe, and he still ended up winning the MVP. So,
and we remember like the really early Kyrie Irving Team USA practices. Those
yeah,
clips are still viral of him going kind of back and forth trash talking with Kobe Bryant
yeah.
and just not afraid of the big moment. Like I'd love to get Kyrie back out there.
And you would think too, with his skill set and his shooting ability, he's going to age well, right? Like I know he's dealing with an injury right now, but those are things that should translate as he gets older. I mean, I don't think that people give, people always talk about his handles and is he the greatest ball handler ever? Possibly. But one thing people don't mention enough is that he's one of the greatest shooters ever as well. So you'd think that he'll still be able to play at 36 if he wants to be able.
What do you think, Raul, about any other names possibly for Duke basketball? I guess they'd be pretty big stretches at this point, but I'm willing to ask.
Well, I mean, we haven't mentioned he'd be pretty young, but we haven't mentioned Cam Boozer.
Sure,
That's always a
I'd love
possibility,
that.
right? Not
I
even in
love
the
that.
NBA yet. In terms of other guys, I don't know about we'd have to see how Maluach's career pans out. Like it's a possibility, of course. He has a high
Right,
upside,
right.
and maybe Team USA needs a rim protector. I think somebody like Ingram is going to be too much of a stretch. And coming back to Maluach, actually, he would even probably play for his
Go
home
back to
country
South
out.
Sudan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So scratch that one. But yeah, I'm not seeing like I'm trying to kind of go through the
Jared
list of
McCain, could you see that?
yeah.
That'd be
I mean,
fun.
he was almost rookie of the year, and he probably would have been if he had stayed healthy and was putting up great numbers. So if he kind of
Right.
continues that trajectory, the U.S. team can always use shooting.
No doubt. No doubt. Let us know what you guys think. Is there anybody else for Team USA that's got Duke basketball ties that you would love to see in the 2028 Olympics? Really kind of fun thought exercise that we've got working there. All right, we're going to talk Duke basketball recruiting. Couple of names to still be monitoring as we're waiting for that first commit to come through. That's coming up next. Locked On Blue Devils here today, brought to you by our friends at The Game. That's right. Quick question for all you college football fans out there. If you could go back in time and sit front row at your school's biggest rivalry game, what hat would you be wearing? Yes, I said hat. For me, it would be The Game. These aren't just hats. They're the same vintage style fans wore back in the 80s and 90s. And guess what? They still go for the same price they did back then. When you use code LOCKED ON, you'll get your vintage hat for $16.99. Head to thegamecaps.com. Thegamecaps.com. Grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design and use code LOCKED ON for an exclusive discount because legends wear the game, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Our show today also brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks, the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. More than or less than on like passing yards, scoring touchdowns, and so much more. I love playing it each and every Sunday. You should join in on the fun too. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. A proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Last segment here today of the podcast. I've got Raul Clement here with me today from the Devil's Den podcast. Let's talk 2026 recruiting now for the Blue Devils as we talk recent visits that Duke has had on campus there with Pro Devil Weekend. A lot of the names we've already mentioned, Cooper Flagg, Paolo Banchero, Jayson Tatum being back in the gym and having recruits on campus. Biggest sales pitch in the world, man, is getting to be a part of the brotherhood. But still, no commits yet for Duke basketball as you look at their class of 2026. Raul, what jumps out to you? Are you surprised at all?
In past years, I would have been, but this just seems to be the nature of recruiting now. I've talked to several people about it, including Coach Scheyer, but also some kind of like recruiting insiders like John Watson. He's talked about how recruiting is just going to be slower now because of the portal and because of how players are basically just making a 1-year commitment before they decide what they want to do for the next year. So you really have to wait and see how your team is going to shake out. And there's just so many unknowns and so many options available to players that it's really hard to sell recruits on committing to a team this early when they don't know who's going to be on the roster the next season. So I just think fans are going to have to get used to not having the whole recruiting class locked up by November like we used to.
Yeah, it's just changing, and all that said, I'm still a little surprised. Like, I still think there would have been one in the boat at least that could start doing the internal recruiting with other guys in the class, and maybe it's going to be soon, right before these high school players start their senior year of basketball and whatnot. But we keep getting good updates, like things continue to trend in a good direction for somebody like Jordan Smith Jr. Darren Rippey continues to plan some visits to Duke. I know Cameron Williams is a name they're monitoring. Austin Goosby recently was on this big-time visit. So I think it's going to be an exciting class for Duke basketball. It's just so different that we don't have anybody committed yet. But to your point, this is probably going to become a little bit more of the norm if we don't see any more major changes coming to the sport.
Yeah, and the 2026 class has some unique elements to it too. It's not as strong as the last couple of classes. So that's something to keep in mind. I think John Scheyer is going to put a lot of emphasis on retaining players, anybody who's not like, a lottery pick like Cam Boozer or like probably a first round pick like Caden could possibly be. We'll see about that one. I'm not completely sold on him leaving, but I would expect Isaiah Evans to be gone. And then, there's some other guys who are up in the air, but guys like, Darren Harris or Sebastian Wilkins or whatever, I think he's going to pitch those guys on coming back to get some experience on the team and then try to supplement it with some of these 2026 recruits who also look like guys who might stay around a little bit longer. Like when you look at kind of Goosby and Rippey and stuff, you're not necessarily expecting them to be one and done. So I think what he's trying to do is rather than having to go in the portal and just make all these quick decisions and figure out whether you want a player and whether they're a good fit, I think he's trying to do it through high school, but retain the players. And of course that, means that it might be a little bit harder to sell incoming high school guys on joining the team. But to your point, we got 4 guys that Duke is looking at pretty seriously. And it seems like things are starting to heat up with a couple of them. Jordan Smith's Duke's been recruiting him forever. I would expect him to be, if I had to guess, he's going to be the first commit. And I would expect that to happen before the November signing period. So that's only a couple months away. I think we're going to get something soon is my point.
Yeah, it's what's crazy is that it seems like the November signing period, then you're already into this season, and it's not as big of a focus because there are so many things to be discussing with this year's team and whatnot, which is totally fine. It's just totally different than I'm throwing totallys out a lot there. It's just different than what we're used to over the past few seasons.
Yeah, I think anybody who doesn't commit in November, you might have to wait till March or April.
Right.
That's kind of what we saw this last season, right?
No,
We had a couple late commits in Sarr and Wilkins. So it might be something similar here.
Well, we will continue to follow it all, and I'm excited to talk about it all. Raul, I really appreciate the time today and having these fun conversations about Team USA possibilities with Duke basketball and recruiting update for everybody out there. You're a part of the Devil's Den podcast. How can people follow along with you guys?
TheDevil'sDen.com is the website. You can find all the episodes there. And then, of course, you can find them on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all that. And we recently started doing YouTube, so you can watch us there. Just search TheDevil'sDen.com on YouTube, and that you'll find the channel there. We've had a couple really interesting episodes recently. Probably my favorite recent one that we did was with retired ACC official Jamie Luckey. That was really interesting to talk to him about the nature of officiating and objectivity and whether crowds sway it and makeup calls and all that kind of stuff and new rules that are coming. He gave us a little inside scoop on that stuff. And then we actually lifted an idea from you and we did a non-conference preview, except because we're long-winded, we stretch it into 2 episodes.
There you go. That's awesome. And then, yeah, I would encourage people to go check out that Jamie Lucky interview that you guys did, because I went back and made sure to listen to that podcast. A lot of fun Coach K stories. So that'll be our little teaser for people to go back and listen to that one. Great to see you, Raul. Thanks for stopping by.
You too, man. Thanks.
All right, that's Raul Clement joining us here on this episode of Locked On Blue Devils, and that's going to bring our show today to a close. Do us a favor, be sure to subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcast. Follow Locked On Blue Devils on X at LO_Blue Devils, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you, and good day. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, no